What's up guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, with a look at a really unique Android smartphone. This is the Nexbit Robin, and cloud is really the central theme of this device, and that's because it has integrated cloud storage that seamlessly backs up your data, photos, apps, and more while preserving storage on your phone. The idea here is that you don't have to buy the storage with the device. Instead, you can offload it to the cloud. So we're going to take a detailed look at the software experience in this video. Now, the Nexbit Robin retails for $399 and is available off contract today. This works with AT&T and T-Mobile, but a CDMA version is coming later. So getting to the unboxing, they've done a really nice job with the packaging. You can see we have a sleeve that slides off to reveal this really skinny box. Opening up the lid, the first thing we'll see is our greeting message, which refers to the rebel nature of the Nexbit experience, which is a little different from other standard Android phones. So turning the page, we'll find our phone and its accessories front and center in mint green, so everything is nicely coordinated here. We have some brief instructions on how to charge it and install the SIM, and of course, that's all fairly basic. Now, the Robin is available in two color configurations. You can get mint and white, or you can get midnight, which is a solid dark gray blue color. Now, the USB Type-C cable is a neatly packaged ribbon-style cable, and you can see we have a slim-style Type-A connector on one end and the USB Type-C connector on the other end. Not included is the quick charger, so you can purchase this for $15, and this supports Quick Charge 2.0. We also get a SIM ejection tool in the shape of the Nexbit icon. So getting to the plastic wrapped phone, you can see the packaging itself highlights the fact that we have two front-facing speakers, not a home button and an earpiece, but two front-facing stereo speakers, which sound excellent. So peeling that off, we can take a close look at our phone. Now, the first thing I'm going to do here is boot up the device. I'm going to tap and hold the power button along the right side, which also integrates a fingerprint scanner. Now, taking a close look at the design of the Nexbit Robin, we have this polycarbonate plastic shell, which is nice, rigid, thin, and lightweight. I really like this design. It's nice and angular and seems to fit the material design of Android 6.0 really well. And the material itself has a nice, smooth, silky texture, and the corners are nice and rounded, so although it looks really angular, it doesn't feel sharp to handle. So in the front, we have a fairly modest 5.2-inch 1080p IPS LCD display. It's not too big, not too small. I think it's just the right size for most people. It's also covered in Corning Gorilla Glass 4, which is the latest glass technology available for smartphones today. Toward the top, front and center is an earpiece, which also acts as a front-facing stereo speaker. We also have a 5-megapixel front-facing camera, which is good for 1080p HD video. And beside that, we'll find an ambient light sensor and proximity sensor. And at the bottom, we'll find the other front-facing stereo speaker. So each speaker gets its own amplifier. Along the right side, we'll find our flush-mounted sleep-wake power button, which also acts as a fingerprint scanner, and below that, we'll find our nano SIM tray. On the left side, we'll find our volume controls, which are nice and raised here, which are nice and tactile, and are also color coordinated. At the bottom edge, we'll find our USB Type-C connector, which does support Quick Charge 2.0, and beside that, we'll find a microphone and an LED notification light. And along the top edge, we'll find another microphone and a headphone jack. Along the back, we'll find our dual-tone polycarbonate shell. In the upper left corner, we'll find a 13-megapixel rear-facing camera good for 4K ultra-high-definition video with phase detection autofocusing. There is no optical image stabilization, but we do have software stabilization built in. We also have a dual-tone LED flash. Also on the back are 4 LED indicators. This will tell you whether the phone is uploading to the cloud or restoring from the cloud. So in terms of specs, the Robin is powered by a Snapdragon 808 hexa-core processor clocked at 2 GHz. We have 3 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of onboard storage, and 100 gigs of online storage, which is included with the purchase price of your phone. So effectively, you have 132 gigs of storage available. And the software on the Robin is able to link these two together, so you don't have to spend a lot of time managing this like you would with an SD card. So instead of having to move things around to the SD card, the software here is designed to manage that for you. So how does smart storage work? The Robin uses online storage to back up apps or photos when the 32 gigs of onboard storage begins to run out. So this happens when the phone is plugged in and charging and connected to Wi-Fi. So in terms of apps you don't use frequently, Nexbit will back up the app data and remove it from your phone. The apps are archived and restored in a complete state. So unlike other backup solutions, if you call an app back to the phone, it downloads it and is restored as you left it with all your data, settings, history, login, and so on. Photos will also be stored online, but only the thumbnail images will be retained locally in your gallery. However, the photos will download once again if you bring them up. Of course, downloading and restoring an app requires a consistent data connection, so you may want to pin apps if you don't want this going on with critical functions. With a Snapdragon 808 and 3 gigs of RAM, the Robin is an excellent performer, scoring over 1200 on the single-core score and nearly 3400 on the multi-core score, which is also consistent with the Nexus 5X, although an extra gig of RAM on the Robin means it handles multitasking and web scrolling more smoothly. The Moto X Pure Edition, with half a gig of RAM less than the Robin, does inch ahead of the Robin just slightly in benchmarks, even though they have similar specs. Next up, let's take a look through the interface, which is powered by Android 6.0 and is pretty faithful to the design of Android 6.0 and the material design, so they have made some tweaks here. If you look at the lock screen, we have this weather widget along with the clock widget, which is useful. Of course, you also have your notifications, which you can expand out. Quick access to your voice command as well as your camera app, and you can unlock your phone here. Now, in terms of the fingerprint scanner, it's really quick. So, for example, if I want to unlock my device and see the lock screen, I have to be pretty quick about it, and I can just tap my thumb to unlock it. It's fairly fast and fairly accurate. Now, for this arrangement, I think the best fingers to train are your right thumb and your left index finger. So let's go and train my left index finger here so we can show you how this is done. So I have to go to security. We're going to go to fingerprint. So I just have to input my PIN, and we can go ahead and add another fingerprint. So let's go ahead and tap my left index finger here, and it happens very quickly. All right, so we're all done here. So if I go to unlock my device now, we're good to go. Now, although it looks close to stock Android 6.0, there are some significant tweaks here. For one thing, there is no separate app drawer. Basically, your home screen is the app drawer, and you can swipe here to look through them. Of course, you can rearrange them by tapping and holding on them, so you can go up to app info or uninstall that app or drag them to folders. You can see the folder design is also a bit different here. As you can see, some of these apps are grayed out, and that's because they've been loaded to the cloud and removed from the device. So if you want to quickly re-access them, all you have to do is tap on them and they'll restore them from the cloud. So the idea with this is this will remove apps you're not using and free up some storage space. Now the system does this automatically, but if you want to prevent apps from being deleted, you can swipe down here and the apps will be pinned. And of course you can go to this little icon here to manage that. So for example, we can see our archived apps here, and if we want to add Adobe Acrobat, we can tap on it or we can exit out to prevent that process. We also have our pinned apps, so we can go ahead and unpin all of our apps. So again, the system will automatically uninstall them if it determines we're not using them. Or you can manually select certain ones. So for example, if we want to unpin Earth, just tap and hold on it, and then we can unpin that item, or you can select multiple ones here once we get to the editor. So if you want to unpin these two, click unpin. We also have a unique way of dealing with widgets. So we have a widget layer which you can access by pinching in on the home screen. So this gets to our widget panel and you can swipe through different pages. To manage this, you just tap and hold on the widget layer here, and you can drag and drop one of your favorite widgets. So for example, if I want to drag this clock here, I can go ahead and drop it on one of the existing pages or add a new page. If we tap and hold on the home screen, we get to our home screen editor. So we can drag and drop our home screen pages around just by tapping and holding on them and repositioning them to wherever we want. Now the first page will always be your main home screen here, and of course any extraneous pages will automatically be deleted. You can also jump to your wallpapers here so you can see all the wallpapers they've included, and you can also access your gallery. Now in terms of these Android navigation keys, they look a bit different from stock Android, but they have the same function. So we have home, back, and recent apps. You can see our overview of recent apps. They haven't tweaked this with multitasking or anything like that here. You can swipe to dismiss them or bring apps forward. In terms of the notification shade, again, pretty close to stock Android. You can see it's a little more translucent here. And of course, if we swipe down again, we get to our quick setting toggles, which includes our brightness slider, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, our cellular network, do not disturb settings, airplane mode, auto rotate flashlights. You can turn on the flashlight if you want, and then you can also turn off your GPS location. And of course, we have cast, so we can cast our screen and audio wirelessly to a compatible TV or display. Also in the upper right corner, if we tap on it, this brings us right to smart storage. So this allows us to see how much storage we have left in our cloud account and our local storage. You can see I'm pretty much maxed out on local storage, so it's trying to upload as much as possible to cloud storage. We can go to more settings to manage this as well. So we can tell it to back up over Wi-Fi only, so it doesn't use cellular networks. We can tell it to back up only while charging, back up our applications, back up media. Right now it only backs up photos, so videos are not included. We can also report metrics, so make smart storage better by automatically sending usage data. So if you don't want that to happen, you can uncheck it. You can also see the account that you're signed into. This is actually the review account, so I can go ahead and change this or sign out if I want. So I'm going to go ahead and add my Google account. Now, in terms of the settings panel, it's fairly close to stock Android here. So we have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, data usage, and more. Under more, we'll find NFC, which you can turn on and off, and that does include Android Pay, which has yet to be activated on this device, but it is coming. Under display, we'll find our adaptive brightness, which you can toggle on and off here. We also have our standard Android controls, in addition to screen mode. So if we go to screen mode, we have standard or dynamic. We also have sound and notifications with granular control for media, alarm, and ring volume. You can also access this by hitting the volume controls along the side and bringing up your drop-down menu. Under battery, we'll find some battery saver options here. So we have battery saver and battery optimization. If you go to battery saver, you can turn that on, and this will tell you exactly what it's going to do. Now, instead of storage, we have smart storage, and that's because we have cloud integrated access along with local storage. So, of course, our cloud storage is mostly free right now. So you can see available space, and you can see what's taking up most of that space. Right now, it's apps and some pictures. You can also see your local storage here, so you can see what space is being used up and by what. Now, checking out the camera app, it's pretty simple. We can pinch in and out to zoom. We can also tap anywhere on the scene to adjust the exposure and focus, and you get a little animation as well as sound effect. Snap your photograph. You can also tap and hold to take a burst shot, and we'll count down for you with a tone. Now we have additional options here. So if we go to this plus sign, we can change our flash settings. So we have auto on or off. We also have our timer. We can add a grid, HDR. We can toggle on and off. And then we have additional functions. So if we go to this grid icon, we have auto camera, we have manual camera, and then we have video. So if we go to manual camera right here, you can see we have controls for autofocusing, white balance, exposure, as well as our ISO. We can also jump to our video camera, which is capable of 4K Ultra HD resolution. Now, if we want to get to that, we'll have to go to settings. So we have settings down here, and we can see our resolution for our photo size. So you can see 4:3 at 13 megapixels. You can see we have no cropped 16:9 resolution here until you get down here. So you can see 8:3, 4:1, and 2.1 or 0.9 megapixels. And then we have our video camera. So we have 1080p, Ultra HD 4K, or 720p. Let's go and select that. And then we can start recording in 4K. So we're recording right now, and I can pinch in and out to zoom if I want. What I can't seem to do is take a photograph at the same time. What's up, guys? Mike here, the Detroit Borg, testing out the front-facing camera of the Nexbit Robin, which is 5 megapixels, good for 1080p HD video. It's got a nice wide-angle lens, so you get a lot in your shot. It's also able to find the right exposure to keep my face in focus. So even with challenging lighting conditions, as I have here, with bright backlights here, so I have windows, lamps, a display, you're able to see me pretty clearly. So fairly decent camera overall. In terms of camera quality, the 13 megapixel camera delivers solid day-to-day performance with crisp shots and well-exposed images in daylight conditions with accurate color reproduction. The camera is quick to find focus accurately, but the camera is slow to take the photo, which may improve with future software updates. Very similar to the iPhone, the aperture isn't very big, so you won't get those artistic shallow depth of field shots, but it also means the camera spends less time hunting for focus. The camera does a good job with exposure compensation to bring up shadows and detail, but it does mean the camera has a tendency to overexpose or flatten and wash out a shot. But for the most part, this camera is a solid, if conventional, smartphone camera. Low light performance is also fairly decent, with a good amount of light sensitivity and processing, which strips away color noise effectively, even if there is a noticeable amount of softening, but it still preserves a good amount of detail. The camera struggles to use the flash effectively, so it's best to keep this turned off, since it tends to distort the color and blow out only the foreground. Video quality is also good with sharp 4K quality with excellent color reproduction and exposure. However, without optical image stabilization, handheld video can look a little shaky, and the camera tends to hunt around abruptly to find the right exposure. Now, in terms of battery life, we have a 2,680 mAh battery, which got me a little north of 3 hours of on-screen time at maximum brightness in 2 separate tests. This is on the low side, but not unusual for smaller smartphones with batteries under 3,000 mAh. In the end, the Nexbit Robin is an aggressively priced, full-featured smartphone with attractive hardware that delivers a lean Android experience with an innovative hybrid storage solution. I think this is an early look at what the future holds for fully embedded hybrid storage, but I don't think this is a primary reason you should buy a smartphone. And for that reason, I'm not sure this phone is relevant to everybody, but it's a great option for most people. Alright guys, so this is going to do it for me in this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up to let me know, and I'll see you again in the next video.